You have the woke supremacy out there in the lobby, right? Well, I need to get a copy of that. All right, now we're going to hear from Don Huffines. Don's passion for liberty has led him to lifelong involvement in conservative Republican causes. Don served as a national delegate at the Republican conventions in 08, 12, and 16, and was a state delegate at numerous state conventions. In 2014, Don ran to represent Texas Senate District 16, covering North Dallas County, and won. Don continues to be actively involved in Republican politics by supporting GOP candidates at all levels of government. In fact, he's just thrown his hat in the ring for governor of the state of Texas. His top campaign issues are closing the border, ensuring election integrity, eliminating property taxes, and ending gender modification in minors. To accomplish all of those efforts. Let's give a hand for Don Huffines.
Thank you very much. Hello, Patriots. Patriots. All right, you guys having some fun tonight? Good. Life's too short not to. It's a great day to fight for liberty, wasn't it? Guess what? We get to do it tomorrow. And I'm going to tell you about my experience in the Texas Senate. I'm going to pull the curtain back for you a little bit so you can see why your conservative legislation doesn't pass. And I'm also going to tell you why I'm running and why I'm going to win. On April the 18th of this year, 21, a 28-year-old lady went to church with her husband and her 12-month-old baby. She sat in the far back right-hand corner of the gymnasium where the chairs were 2 feet apart because the church was still worried about the Wuhan. They weren't meeting in the sanctuary. And she took her mask off. She sat there to make sure she didn't bother anyone, and the preacher, he walks by, and the priest, he says, "You need to put that mask back on." She says, "I'm not going to do that, because you see, I'm pregnant with number 2. I'm not feeling good." Well, the service goes on. She goes up and gets communion, and comes back to her chair and is kneeling in front of it, praying. Closed her eyes, of course, praying, and she feels this heavy hand on her neck and her back pulling on her. And she turns around and looks up. There's 3 Dallas policemen. 3 Dallas policemen standing above her, telling her she's going to jail for trespassing because she didn't have a mask on. Well, her husband, he's a calm fellow. He pulled out his camera, a little bit, cell phone, and started videoing it. And he told him to take it outside. And he talked to him, and the police did. Then the usher comes out, and the police take a photograph of their license plate and told them if they ever came back to that parking lot again, they're going to be arrested for sure. A church she'd been going to on and off for 20 years because she didn't have a mask on. Well, that video did go viral. It did. Million Americans saw it because they couldn't believe it. That this happened in Texas, and neither can Texans believe it. Well, that 28-year-old, my daughter, dear. But this is indicative of the liberties that we've lost in our state. And I blame it on Abbott. He's an enabler. He's an enabler. He don't have to be the one that fires a gun. If you go to rob a bank, if you drive that getaway car, you still get the death penalty, just like all the guys that go inside. He's an enabler. He's the one that empowered the leftists that have taken over our churches. He's the one that empowered the left that was waiting to make a political statement out of this virus. Well, she said, I'm Don Huffines, and I'm honored to have the opportunity to be your next governor, and I plan on winning. I'm a fifth-generation Texan. I was born in Dallas, grew up in the Metroplex. I'm the father of 5 homeschoolers. They're all adults. And the best thing that ever happened to me is 34 years ago. She's sitting right back there. Beautiful, perfect. We homeschooled our 5 to make sure they grew up in a good Christian environment. They did. And now we're grandparents. Deirdre had that baby last week, little baby boy. And we grandparents 4 times over in the last 18 months. So it's a new chapter of our lives. I went to the University of Texas and graduated there in 1981 in finance. And I started my real estate company in 1985. And I do commercial real estate. It's been very good to me, and I enjoy what I do. My political bio is real simple. When I was 17, I remember something really triggered in me, something that probably burns in you. And it burns in me today, and it burned on me then. And I call it the flame of liberty. It just never goes out. Sometimes it burns really bright, and you can't put it out, and sometimes it doesn't. I read books by Murray Rothbard then, and Hynek and Mises and others. And I knew that I needed to do something for liberty. So I went and worked for the Reagan campaign as a 17-year-old, volunteered for him. I went to my first county convention when I was 18, about 2 weeks, my Republican county convention, and my parents were not political. So I supported a lot of candidates over the years. And I've been to a lot of state conventions and for decades. And have you ever met a Republican that didn't say he was conservative? Yeah, they all say that. And guess what? 90% of them are liars. And they know they're liars. Well, I got tired of yelling at the TV and kicking on it. So in 13, I decided there was a trophy on the wall I didn't have. And I love my guns. I got so many I can't count them. And it was a trophy rhino. And he was sitting in Senate District 16 in Dallas County. And he controlled Dallas County, 25 years, most liberal Republican in office. Well, I took him out in the primary, heads up in 140 days. Never been done before or since. So I know what it's like to run an underdog race. So I was in the Texas Senate from 14 to 18. I got knocked out in 18 when the Democrats finished taking over Dallas County. There's 4 Republicans. No, 3. 3 Republicans have probably 90 partisan positions in Dallas County. Trump got barely 30% of the vote in Dallas County. There's a few things I got done down in that Senate that I was proud about, and I'll just tell you about a little bit. I was always ranked one of the top most conservative senators in Austin by the scorecard you get, when you vote. And I was 1, 2, or 3. I had some competition there in those 2 years I was there, the 2 sessions, I mean. Also, according to the Secretary of the Senate, I'm the only elected office holder in Austin in Texas history that never took a penny from the state of Texas. Thank you. I did no travel vouchers, no reimbursements. I didn't even use their office furniture. It was really ugly. But I'm going to do the same thing as your governor. I'm never going to take any money from the government because I never worked for the government. The government didn't hire me. You hired me. The people hired me. And that's who I work for. I'm with you. I'm for you. And that's exactly how I'm going to be as your governor. Also uncovered one of the largest political corruption scandals in the history of the state of Texas, modern history anyway. It was an obscure government agency in Dallas County. There were 3,000 employees, $110 million annual budget, and it was just on my property tax bill, and I started digging into it. They taxed everybody in Dallas County a small tax, and I just uncovered a nest of cockroaches. And it wasn't that big of an effort, which was the scariest thing about the whole thing. And they were stealing tens of millions of dollars. It took me 3 years, but I got the Texas Rangers involved, the Dallas District Attorney, the FBI, and bottom line, we got 6 people put in prison, including the sitting mayor pro tem of the City Council of Dallas. He served 7 years in prison. deep as the one in Washington. It might not be as wide, but it's every bit as deep. Let me just tell you, it was really difficult to get that bill done. I'm going to tell you why. That agency doesn't exist anymore. They're gone. But right after inauguration in 15, leadership comes in, called a meeting of the caucus as a whole. There's only 31 state senators, 20 Republicans when I was there, 11 Democrats. We represent more than a congressional district. And you're meeting the caucus as a whole. And then they print. And they say, welcome, senators. Welcome to the most exclusive club in the state of Texas. So there's less than 150 of y'all still alive. And he said, you're so lucky to be a member of this club. Your loyalty always lies with your fellow club members. You will never do anything to hold them accountable. You're so fortunate to be here. And he goes off on that for a tirade, talking about how great the club is and how special the club is and you're special your fellow club members are for 5 or 10 minutes. And it wasn't just on that occasion. But I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I bet I'm the only person in here that always wondered why they call legislators members. You know, they're called members. Have you ever wondered why they're called members? That's right. But they don't wonder that. They really don't. They know exactly why they're called members. They got a private lunchroom. They got all this exclusive stuff. They are the smartest people always in the room. Always. Their loyalty never lies with you and never will. Well, I could tell you more stories, and I'm going to make my speech a little shorter. But look, we control everything in Austin. The House, the Senate, the governor's office for 20 years. We've been in the Republican Party for 20 years. And every year, we go down there begging to get some of our legislative priorities into law. This is my second favorite document. Our Republican Party platform. How many of y'all been to the state convention? Our county convention? Well, good, because you know what we do. The main thing we do for the Republican Party of Texas, if you haven't been, you should go. Let me just tell you, everybody should go to a convention. Is put together our party platform. And we all vote on it. It's put together by tens of thousands of Republicans across the state of Texas. And there's 6,000 to 7,000 people at the convention, and we all vote on the platform. We all vote on our legislative priorities. Well, let me tell you, I take this with me down there when I was in Austin. And I took it wherever I go. And do you know how many people cared? None. None. They don't care. As a matter of fact, most of them make fun of it. Just like they probably do you, behind closed doors. They belittle you, they belittle me. I was yelled at and screamed at and cussed at on the floor of the Texas Senate more than I've ever been in my adult life. And this was by Republicans. Republicans, not the Democrats. It was always the Republicans. Not all of them, but enough of them. They lie so much, they can't remember what they lied about. Because you see, they want to campaign one way, and they're going down there to govern a different way. They're going to go back to your home, and they're going to ask you for the vote and the money. And they're going to be the most likable people in the world. You're going to just love them. But that's not who they're going to be when they get down to Austin. I mean, every year we go down there, we beg for 2 or 3 of these priorities get done. Just like this year. It's like 15, 17, 19, 21. This has been going on since we've had a Republican Party. From the 90s all into the 2000s. We never get them done. If you, Patriots, if you get one thing out of my talk tonight, I want you to remember this. The governor of Texas can get just about any bill done he wants, whenever he wants. He's the leader of the Republican Party of Texas. He's the leader of the state of Texas. I can point to many examples of that and show you what goes on down there. But the reason we don't have this into law, have you ever seen Greg Abbott hold this in his hand? Have you ever seen him talk about it? And you never will. But the reason this isn't in law is because he doesn't believe in it. He doesn't want this to be law. What you see down there is not necessarily what you think it is. How many bills came to the floor of the Texas Senate when I was there and did not pass? Zero. That's right, zero. Every vote's counted in the back. We know how every vote's going to go down. It's all decided in the back. Everything, most things, not everything, but most things you see on the floor of the Texas Senate is for show. All the debate, it's all a big hustle. All the angst we have about all the legislation that we can't get into law, it's because we don't have leadership at the top. Our governor doesn't want it to be law, or it be law. Well, they just don't want to be accountable. They work so hard not to take the vote, the hard vote. Whether it was constitutional carry when I was trying to bring it up, whether it was cutting the margins tax or anything else, you can't imagine how hard they work not to take that vote. Well, they do like being accountable. I guess I'm being a little bit hard on them because they do want to be accountable to the money, to the lobbyists, to their fellow club members. And I kid you not, who they talked about at our Republican caucus meeting every week, who they wanted to be accountable to. The Democrats. What do the Democrats think? How are the Democrats going to respond? How are we going to make the Democrats happy? And then they go around bragging about, we only had 30 partisan bills or some number like that out of 500 or 1,500 bills. They don't ever worry. I never heard them talk about the grassroots or groups like this. But the catalyst for me to run, everybody knows what happened in March of 20. When Abbott shut everything down, I put an op-ed in the papers begging him to open it back up. It was in like the second or third week of April. In one day, Greg Abbott put over 3 million people on unemployment. 3 million Texans are dependent on the government. That's more jobs than we've created in this state in the last 10 years combined. Thousands of businesses were gone. He unilaterally decided who was essential and who wasn't. Boom! He didn't care how many sacrifices you made in that job or in that business, how many generational sacrifices were made. It was all gone. I never, of course, have done any of that. I begged him to open it back up. I put a tweet out before it happened. And then, Patriots, he closed our churches. He closed our churches on the holiest season of the year, Easter. Easter 20. You couldn't bury the dead properly. You couldn't get married. You couldn't get baptized. Where was the outcry when your loved ones had to die alone? Where was he? In the history of Christianity, 2,000 years, we've never closed our churches. It's because you're talking about possible salvation of souls. Of souls. He did it anyway. Then he keeps a mask mandate on us for 9 months. And people thank him for taking that off. And I say, that's like thanking a thief for bringing some of your stolen goods back. Well, I never would have done any of that. Of course. I've been the one calling to make sure that no one is forced to take a vaccine if you don't want to do it. I've never taken it, and I never will. Unlike my opponent, Abbott, he was for the businesses requiring that vaccine until he realized it wasn't a good political position to be in. And I never will make you wear a mask or any of that stuff, of course. I never would close the churches or close, of course, or or your schools or anything like that. It's not the lens I look through. What is the fundamental role of government? Yes. Well, I ask that question because it's a question that I think most people would answer real clearly, and that's a good answer. But it's always to defend your God-given liberties. Your liberties come from God and not the government. Well, Abbott and I we're just different. He's a career politician, 30 years in elected office. And you know he's never had a primary opponent in different offices he's run for in 30 years. This is the first time that man is going to have to be accountable to the Republican Party in Texas. While he's been on the government payroll for 30 years, I've been creating thousands of jobs. I'm a business guy. He's a political windsock, a career politician. I see the answers, I have the answers, and I want to solve them. I've got the courage to implement the solutions. I'm not worried about my political career. I don't need a new career. I'm doing this because simply the job's not getting done. Right. And I'm going to make sure we solve the problems that affect Texas. I don't think I'm any different than you guys are. I mean, we're all scared. We're frustrated. We're kind of angry about the situation, all the liberties we've lost. I mean, we're tired of the lies. We're tired of the broken and empty promises. Is the border secure? No. Are your property taxes going down? No. But do you have confidence that your votes aren't being stolen? No. I can go all the way down the list. Well, I've got a comprehensive plan, a good plan to secure that border. The fundamental part of my plan, though, is I'm never asking permission from the federal government to secure the border. We've got a great plan to phase out property taxes. It'll take about 8 years. We're going to keep local governments fully funded. We're going to make sure you get to vote on it. It's going to be a constitutional amendment. We're never going to have an income tax. This is very doable. I know it doesn't sound it. I know it sounds like political rhetoric. It happens to be in our party platform. This is very doable. Keep that in mind. We're going to make sure it happens. And then you can ask me questions on Q&A, how we're going to get it done. I got a great plan to give you confidence in your elections. I'm going to create a new law enforcement division. It's going to have up to 500 officers in it, and they're going to be focused on government corruption and election integrity. We can have all the laws we want, but if nobody's enforcing them, what's the point? We've got to have enforcement, and we're going to have audits. Patriots, this really is, not to say Abbott is, but this is a case of good versus evil. It is. Evil's on the move. The socialism, as he said, you heard, always leads to communism, and the tyrannies and the horrors are unimaginable what's coming, and it's all coming at us fast. It really is. We need to illuminate the battlefield. Just like Travis did in the Alamo, we need to draw a line in the sand so we can see who's with us and who's against us, and those that are with us to cross over, just like they did the 200 in the Alamo. They knew what they were fighting for. They knew they were going to die, but they did it. They did it for your liberty. So Texas could be an independent nation. They knew the fundamental role of government. We need to illuminate that same energy, take that same energy and illuminate it today. Because she said, there's no cavalry coming over the hill. There's no one coming to our rescue. You're it. It's not necessarily going to get any better. We've lost more liberty in the last 20 months than I thought we could ever lose in lifetimes. They've taken our jobs. They've taken our churches. They've taken our businesses, and they're trying to stick potential poison in your arm, in your veins. And they're lying to us all about the virus constantly. A true patriot never blindly follows government. A true patriot always questions government. I need you guys to grab your old rusted swords of liberty. Unsheath them from their sticky scabbards and help me cut the chains of government.
Yes.
Yeah.
Help me awaken the sheep from their slumber. The millions of sheep that are sleeping, so they too can help us restore our liberties that have been stolen from us. Awaken the sheep to the power of our Constitution, the power of the free market and of capitalism. Awaken them to the power of Lord Jesus himself. This is our time. You know, it used to be Texas, really, the word Texas had a real meaning to it. It doesn't anymore. Under Huffines administration, I can tell you we're going to get our swagger back. In Texas. We're going to light the lighthouse of liberty up. And we're going to blind those socialists from New York to San Francisco to that swamp in Austin. We got to. This is our time. This is our mission. So, patriots, I want you to join me, Don Huffines, in this revolution of ideas. And the only ammunition we need is our love of Texas. God bless you. And God bless Texas. For liberty, prosperity, and virtue and honor. Thank you very much. I'd like to do some Q&A. And I'll just call them, folks. If you don't mind, everybody give me 10 minutes. I love Q&A because I want to answer questions because I work for you. Yes, sir.
I've been a long supporter of term limits.
Yes, sir.
And I'm one of the people that have constantly pressured the platform to contain that plan. And it's in there currently. If the legislature does not approve term limits, might you be willing to call a special session specifically devoted to that one subject?
The question is term limits. Would I be willing to call a special session if we can't get it out during a regular session on term limits? And yes, the answer is yes. I'm the one that filed the term limit bills when I was there. I think I was the only legislator that filed them, and I filed them every way I could think of, hoping I could get a hearing out of it and vote. I'm for term limits from the dog catcher to the governor, and I'm willing to make a term limit pledge. Go somebody in the back. Way back there. No, that's you. Yes, please. I'm sorry. That's a terrible way to call on people. I'm sorry.
The special elections police force, could you expand on that? Because I know that elections are really important right now, but I'm concerned about the growth of government.
The growth of government's the question?
Yeah, well, I mean, can you explain a little bit more about the idea of a police force for elections?
Oh, yes. Thank you. That is I see what you're saying. Yes. Well, here, look, on election integrity, we know people cheat in elections. They've cheated in elections since the caveman had elections. I think they probably cheated each other. I think there's no doubt that goes on. So we got to have confidence. We've got to. It's the foundation of our constitutional republic. And when it starts cracking, all heck's going to break loose. It's one of the causes of a civil war. Is when people vote, they don't think their votes are being counted. So my goal is to make sure we got confidence. I'm not interested in growing government, I can tell you that. I'm interested in getting rid of government. But I'm going to assert law enforcement in this process. And it's going to be between the two parties. They're going to be completely familiar with what I said. Government corruption, election integrity. That's all they're going to work on. No drugs, murder, nothing else. They're going to work on that and be fully focused on that. And they're going to know the election laws front and back. They're going to know everything about it. They'll follow the ballots. It'll be Central County. They'll know who owns the software, where the machines are stored, who owns the software companies, who's programming it. Make sure they're not connected to the internet if we have that. Maybe we should, I'm all for going to all paper ballots and just But in Dallas County or most of these major in Travis County, it's gonna be extremely, if not impossible, to convict a Democrat for cheating a Republican. Let's be real. The district attorney's a Democrat, the judges are Democrats, the juries are Democrats. It's just not gonna happen. You're never gonna get a fair trial. So my plan is, of course, to move everything out, have a change of venue, separate court system, separate prosecution system, so we can get people put in jail. I have up to 500 officers. And let me tell you, it's also government corruption. These guys are going to be very busy. It was not a big effort to find it. Austin, I'm just convinced. There's no one that's got a lot of corruption. I'm talking about corruption where people are stealing U.S. currency from Texas taxpayers, that kind of corruption. And I just think it's going on a lot. And it's going on all across the state in different areas, where it's city councils or county governments or school boards or whoever. Who's overseeing these contracts? I couldn't find anybody overseeing all the contracts we spend, the money we spend in Austin, which is $50 million a day or whatever it is. It's close to that. Who do you call? If you think your county government's corrupt and you've got a contract or whatever they're doing, who are you calling? I mean, you're going to call the DA who has coffee with them every morning? I don't think that's going good. I mean, who are you going to call if you think your school board's really cheating? I mean, the DA? Whose kids probably go to school at the same school? Or who? I mean, really, this agency's job is to give you somebody that you can rely on, and you can call, and you can talk to, and you can say, what is the law? Here's what I see. Here's what we've all observed. Or here's what's going down. This is the, what do you think about this? I'm going to have an officer assigned to at least one officer to every county so the county don't know what's going on. So this is another layer to give us confidence in government. And I think they're going to be extremely busy. Yes, sir.
My name's Bob Green. I am precinct chair and an election judge here in Travis County for over 10 years now. I was also chair of the Travis County Republican Party's Election Integrity Committee. I know the situation over the years and how it has been, especially in Central County. I was also the alt judge here just recently for our constitutional amendment. Things were a lot better there this time than they had been in the past. But my question really involves the border.
Yes, sir.
What do you propose to do other than what Governor Abbott has already done?
Okay. Well, the border is my number one issue, and I think it's the Republican Party's number one issue for Texas primary voters, but it certainly should be if it isn't. This is a premeditated attack on Texas by the federal government. But look, guys, the federal government's never going to secure the border. They never have, and they never will. We have to understand that's never going to happen. We had the trifecta in Congress with the most courageous president we've ever had. And the border was still porous. Thousands, tens of thousands of illegals still came over when Trump was president. We controlled everything. So to what end? You think we take over the Senate again? Yippee-yay. I mean, really, yippee-yay. That's not going to make any difference on our border. The only chance we have of securing that border is of a courageous governor of Texas. I'm never asking permission from the federal government to secure the Texas border. And it's for a good reason. I don't need to. It's been on my website what I'm going to do since May. And I'm going to finish the wall, call it a Texas wall. We're going to build it for hundreds of miles, and we're not putting up a chain link fence like Abbott. We're going to build a real wall. We're going to spend the billions of dollars necessary to do that. I'm a business guy. I think that's a good trade versus what we spend on illegal immigration in the state of Texas. It's less than a 1-year payback, and I can go through that in a minute. But the most important thing I'm going to do is use this document right here, my favorite document, the United States Constitution. Thank you. Article 4, Section 4 requires the federal government to defend us. Article 1, Section 10 clearly gives states the authority to defend themselves if they're being invaded. And you got to really think about this. As a long-winded answer. I apologize, but this is a very important issue. Nobody would have signed the Constitution if Article 1, Section 10 wasn't in there. If North Carolina was being invaded by the French and the federal government never came to their aid, well, of course North Carolina's got a right to charge a tax and solicit support from other states and raise an army or use their army to do whatever they needed to do to defend themselves against the invasion. Border. I've been to the border several times. I was on the committee in Austin in the Texas Senate, and so I've been up and down the river in the gunboats. I've flown in the helicopters, and Border Patrol's telling me right now that in 12 months, 1.5 million to 2 million unapprehended illegals are flooding into Texas in a 12-month period. All of them smuggled by the cartels. They captured, as of 3 weeks ago, illegals since the beginning of the year from 147 different countries. You almost got to give a prize to every country that didn't send somebody. There isn't hardly any. I mean, they're capturing them from Afghanistan now. They shave their beards and they're all acting like they're Mexicans. And they're capturing them from Syria, Pakistan, Iran, all Chinese, you name it. It's all pouring over. They're all smuggled in by the most dangerous criminal organizations on earth, the Mexican cartels. If you just read about the trial that's going on right now at the federal courthouse in Plano, Texas, where the Zetas are talking, having testimony of immunity, what each other did. One guy testified, well, I quit counting after I killed over 300 people. I mean, these people are so violent. And how they kill people, they take it to an art form. You don't even want to know, but you can look it up. All that poison's coming over here. And you see what Biden administration is trying to do. You give everybody amnesty. This is going to go blue. And we have millions of illegals in the state of Texas. Millions. So, I'm using Article 1, Section 10. I'm engaging the entire Texas military. There's over 20,000. We're securing that river. And I'm going to solicit more support from this. Let me just finish on my plan real quick. I'll make her quick. Anybody gets across that river, we're immediately deported back to the other side. I'm not worried about immigration law. I'm worried about this invasion. There's 25 crossings over that river. I'm going to stop all inbound commercial traffic from Mexico. That's inbound commercial traffic. This is strategic. This is to make sure Mexico feels the economic pain. I'm going to prove they need us more than we need them until they secure their side of the river and take it back from the cartel. I do want to point out that I love Mexico and I love Mexicans. I don't have anything against them, but they're being a bad neighbor. Let me also point out to some of you guys, every road that leads to every crossing is paid for by you, and is maintained by you, Texas taxpayers. The federal government has no authority whatsoever on those roads. We can do what we want on those roads. But we're going to do what we want anyway, because I am never going to pay attention. I'm going to prove, I'm going to prove not how sovereign Texas can be, not just to the United States, but to the whole world's going to know how sovereign Texas can be. So that's my point. I'll go farther back. Okay, lady in the corner.
Okay, well, you talk about putting up a border and everything. That sounds really great. What are we going to do with all these people that are already here that came across?
Thank you for the question.
Just flooding to them.
Yes. What are we going to do about the ones that are already here? Well, my legislative agenda is to make sure we do an E-Verify system. I've got the legislation already written. It's model legislation. I've modified it. E-Verify is when you have to check your Social Security to make sure they're a citizen. If you employ one person for any reason, any business or an individual, going forward, that's what my legislation says, you're going to have to get them E-Verified. There's two things that bring all the magnets that attract illegals to Texas. And one's a job, of course, and the next one's our education system. You might not realize that the Pilar case in 1981, U.S. Supreme Court case, more detail than you want to know, gave the authority on the 5-4 very controversial decision, a very liberal court, that illegals were entitled to an education. And so we've been educating, and you've been paying for hundreds of thousands of illegals in the government school system in Texas for decades. And it's costing you $5 to $6 billion every year. and we're teaching the common denominator. It's not fair to the faculty. It's not fair it's not counting the facilities cost. I'm going to challenge that on multiple ways. We've already got attorneys working on it. I'm going to root out and make sure we get to stop the magnets that bring everybody to Texas. Our in-state tuition for our universities. Now, University UT down there gives you under 65,000 household income. You get to go for free. Well, the illegals get to have in-state tuition. Abbott could change that one day if he wanted to. So guess what? All the illegals are going for free because they can't have a job. So,
They get scholarships too.
well, you're paying for it, and they're taking seats away from your children. And so, we're going to stop all that. And I hope hopefully, we're going to have thousands of them self-deport, hundreds of thousands self-deport out of Texas. That's the goal. Yes, sir. Sure.
One of the things that the governor can do unilaterally, without Joe Strauss or without the House and the Senate, is make appointments to 255 different boards.
Yes, sir.
Okay, to all of the regents.
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's my impression right now that the people that are getting those appointments from Governor Abbott are big donors to his campaign. How will you decide how to appoint all of these positions that the governor gets to appoint unilaterally?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. The power of the governor is, you're going to see me wield the power of the governor like you've never seen anyone use it. And it's really very impressive what the governor can do. Not just legislatively, but I'll say that most things in Texas start at the top. And it's downstream of the governor's office. Our virtue, our culture, our legislation, our Republican Party principles. And let me just explain that, what you just said. The power of appointments is massive with the governor. The governor puts thousands, hundreds and hundreds of people on boards you can't even imagine. 75 to 80% of our budgets, health and human services and education. The governor gets to appoint the directors of that. The medical board, the pharmacy board, the insurance commission, the real estate commission, Texas Parks and Wildlife. I can go on and on and on. And it's many things you've never ever heard of and never will heard of, and from water boards to you name it. But it's hundreds of them. But one like he just brought up, that I usually mention, to change the culture, our virtues in the state of Texas, is the Board of Regents at every university.
Yes.
Every university and college in Texas is appointed by the governor of Texas. They hire the administration, they hire the chancellor, they hire the president, and guess who's been poisoning these students into socialism and transgenderism and CRT poisoning? Where's all that started? Right in the universities. And then they're taking that poison all the way downstream to our elementary schools and all the way up. And they're getting their teaching certificates. So imagine if our universities were run by real patriots. People that believed in the exceptionalism of America and Texas and the free market and capitalism. And they fired all the socialists that got working there. I mean, it's going to be a new day for Texas. It's not overnight. But I got some ideas how we can make it quicker than most people think. And it goes the same, not just with the universities. I plan on getting prayer back in the schools. This is the catalyst. It started the downfall. It started the sexual revolution. It started divorce. It started abortion. I'm going to end it. It's not a big struggle. That's not a big fight. I don't even know if we're going to show up for the court hearing. I want to lose that fight to the liberals, to the socialists. Because what are they going to do? Put prayer police in every campus in public school in the state of Texas to make sure we're not praying? No, they're not going to do that. I want that fight. I want all the fights I'm going to get. I'm Biden's worst nightmare, by the way. Okay, go this side. Yes, sir, back to the wall.
With our current election system, our machine, all the electronics that are involved in our election system are such an enormous, just rat's nest of vulnerability. We've got to get back to some kind of locally counted paper that's audited. Just
Amen.
right now, we have no confidence at all that anything we vote on is not being manipulated somehow.
Yes.
What can we do to get systems in place that are going to get you elected?
Injunction.
Well, we need to be, here's what I would tell you, and of course I'm concerned. I mean, I'd be foolish to say I wasn't concerned about the system for my campaign, my election, because I spent a tremendous amount of time and energy and treasure like we all are on this. So I think we need a lot of eyes and ears, and we need to make a lot of noise so they know that we're paying attention. And that's basically all I can do. And I'm going to make, not all I can do, but some of what we can do. I'm not an elected office holder, I'm a candidate, right? So I need all my supporters to make sure that they're there when the votes are being counted, and we'll have people around the state of Texas to make sure that happens and do everything we can to make sure we're not getting cheated. If that was your question, how do I know I'm not going to get cheated?
Yeah, I implore you, and I as a piece of advice, if you could run and more prominently on restoring election integrity, on
Paper ballots.
On paper ballots,
Yeah, I'm all for it, yes.
Make that a centerpiece so that people know that this is what we're driving for. This is what you want to get done. And we need to get this in place pronto.
Okay, I appreciate that. No, I the lady in black, right there. She had her hand up.
Medical freedom is
Yes.
really, besides the border, the number one is medical freedom for me. I fled from California, I walked away from the Democratic Party. I've been to the Capitol numerous times to try to get stuff in our legislation so that businesses and employees will be protected. And I'm highly disappointed in Republicans, especially. They say, we don't want to tell businesses what to do. Well, you don't tell businesses what to do all the time.
Every day.
And so I'm a little confused. It's like, I think that I want to know that you say you're not going to let us get vaccinated, you have to get force vaccinated. But are you going to put something in place that protects employees, that takes away these exemptions, period? Like, we should not have to opt out. We should not have to do religious content. And our medical information should be private.
This would, yes, I agree, because we have a good bill pending right now in the third special session of Brian Harrison, and it was a good bill, and it was pretty tough. Look, this could be handled immediately if Abbott wanted it to be handled. Remember, he was for the vaccine mandates with businesses, and he changed. I told you he pivoted. Look, I'm going to make sure we get a bill done immediately when I'm governor. Remember what I said? The governor of Texas can get just about any bill done he wants whenever he wants, if he's a real leader.
Well, you have thousands and thousands of people fleeing here for this issue.
Yes.
And we could not be more disappointed in Texas because of that. We thought you all were the ones who run the country, honestly, and it's like terrifying what's happening.
Well,
So thank you for
yes.
stepping up. That's what you're actually going to do, and more power to you.
Thank you. We'll get it done under Huffines
And remember our
administration.
faces, because we'll hold you accountable.
I'm counting on it. I really am. I want to be accountable. And somebody asked me that the other day. How do you know? I'll go right here in the corner, then I'll go back over.
Yeah, my name's Greg Hart, I'm a veteran.
Yay.
We used to believe in freedom of the press. And we don't have that today, and I would like to know what you would do as governor of Texas to hold media accountable. If they lie, they should say. And I'm tired of the bullshit that we get day in and day out. And that includes big tech.
Well, the first thing we need to do is stop the subsidies for big tech and the slush funds from the government. Right? He paid Facebook to bring a warehouse here and a data center and all that. I'm going to give all that back to taxpayers. So that's the first thing we got to do. But we can do a lot. I mean, the state, like I said, the governor's got plenty of authority. They'll take some different kinds of legislation, and but we need to pass a bill to make sure that they're going to be fair and equitable, and that they've got a monopoly. Nobody saw it coming. Well, maybe some did, but not to the level we're at. And it's just going to get worse. We have no privacy. We have no privacy laws over in the state of Texas. We have the state of Texas spying on us. We have the state of Texas selling our data, for that matter. So, and now we got big tech selling it and censoring us. So it's going to get a lot worse unless we step up and do something. So of course I'm going to focus on it.
Jim Moore, and so you talked about some of the legislative things people work through. I think most of us believe that our state, our country is in a state of emergency right now. Yes. And so I would ask that you tell us, the people in your campaign, that day one you're going to call a special session to address the things that need to be handled. We're not going to wait for the next regular session to come out.
Well, the process is I wouldn't take office until the regular session starts, which would be January of 23. And the first 60 days, the only thing the legislature can work on is what the governor declares as an emergency. That by constitution lasts 140 days. After the regular session, then the governor can call 30-day increments in special sessions. But the power of the governor is legislative. I get last call. The governor would have last call on every single bill that clears that building. And let me tell you what these yahoos love more than anything to be a club member, is to get a bill done. It's hard to get a bill done. We only meet every other year. And that's how you move up in the food chain. How the cool kids. You want to be the cool guy in the club. How you can be a committee chairman. How many bills did you get done? Where's your legislation? How are you getting the legislation done? Well, guess what? I get last call on every bit of it. All 1,500 of them that get out of that building have to come to my desk. It's an incredible leverage. Incredible leverage. Why do we have committee chairs? How am I going to be Democrat committee chairs? I can tell you how I'm going to get rid of that. I'll tell them not one bill out of that committee is going to be law. They can all go home. I'll veto every bill out of that committee. And then if there's an important bill that was needed to pass out of that committee, guess what? I can call a special session and get it done. But they're going to know that I mean business. And and also the budget. If you want to choke back government, you got to choke the money. And I get to work on the budget, the governor's office, before session starts, and I get a last call on the budget when they get finished with it. So this incredible power of the governor. The governor got incredible power. I get one more question, and then I'll be back in the back to answer any questions, follow-ups, or anything else y'all want to say. Then I'll wrap it up. Yes, ma'am.
Speak to lobbyists and the effect of lobbyists on members of Congress.
Well, in Austin, it's probably the same in Washington. I'm not sure because I haven't been up there. I'm sure it's just as bad in the swamp here. It's very real. And that's why we need to get rid of taxpayer-funded lobbying. That's just natural. Abbott doesn't want to get rid of that, or he would have done it. Let me just tell you one example of that. When I closed that government agency down in Dallas County, they spent $1.3 million of stolen taxpayer money, hiring the best lobbyists they could in Austin. They hired some of the really good ones to beat my legislation to get rid of them and uncover the scandal. So it gives you an example of the corruption that takes place in our system, the way we've got it right now. Patriots, I need your help. I want some support. So go to donhuffines.com, and sign up on the website, and you can press the endorse button or donation button. And I am the lead investor. I want to just give you a quick update on the campaign. Since May the 11th, till June 30th, at that time frame, we announced over $9 million raised. We're raising millions of dollars as we go forward in this. I'm opening field offices all across the state of Texas. It's pretty much unprecedented for a primary challenger. We just cut the ribbon this afternoon on the one in Austin. So, we've got 3 in Houston. I've got them in most cities. We're in this to win. Let me tell you, there's a path to victory, and I'm on it. I'm not here to make a political statement or send a political message. I'm here to win. I'm going to win because we have to. We save Texas, we can possibly save the United States or the free world. But we have to save Texas. And like I said, the cavalry's not coming to our rescue. You're it. So, get on my website. And also, I'm going to tell you, if you get your phone out for a second and text me, you can get right involved real quick. And we've got great endorsements. I've got a great team. I'm hiring 3 to 5 people every week at least. We now had 18 people on payroll. I've got great endorsements. You know, probably Senator Rand Paul endorsed the campaign, shot me a good video. We released Ron Paul's endorsement a few weeks ago. Actually, Fran Rose, the president of True Texas, endorsed us, and Julie McCarty endorsed the campaign personally, not with True Texas, but personally. We're going to get a lot of the grassroots organization endorsements. So you need to go to the website and see all that. But text Don at 79005. 79005. You put that at the top, and under subject, you write Don. And so 79005, then under subject, you write Don, press send, and you'll be in the system. But also, if you know somebody that wants to work on a campaign, get on the website, get the resume sent in, and sign up in the back. Patriots, it's going to be a new day for Texas. It's not just a new chapter in Texas history. It's going to be a whole new book in Texas history and Huffines administration. I want you to know this is Texas. We will bend the knee to no man, to no government, for no reason, because this is Texas. Thank you so much. God bless you.